Welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Football Journeymen podcast.
You better be praying to God because, you're 14 and losses in a row. You're going to need Jesus.
Am I wrong?
I thought you were pretty wrong, yeah.
Can you think of any better way to start a podcast than a little clinky?
All right, I'll just get you on the bottom there. Welcome to the inaugural Aaron and Aaron show.
I was first.
I do have the Aaron and Jason show in the title there.
Oh,
So
that's good to know.
it coming to you on a nice little Saturday afternoon in Aaron's casa. I like this setup, man. We went through a little bit of podcast engineering 101, and now we're throwing our thoughts out to the world. What do you have to tell them,
Our
Aaron?
thoughts? Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to hijack this a little bit and ask you, how's that journey going with the podcast? Because it's been an interesting couple of weeks there with things transforming and you being the go-to guy for everything. Yeah, take a long pull on that, my friend.
No, I mean these are dope glass. I just got to mention.
Oh, yeah,
turn
those
yours so the
Those are
camera
Christmas.
can.
You can't see it so much because of the ice, but we're rocking the Imperial side and the Rebel side here. You'll see more when more of this is gone.
Yeah, the podcast journey. Honestly, I that's a great question because I kind of like it's been 10 weeks or so, probably something around there since we started, and I am pleasantly surprised that the second kind of phase of like getting my own type of equipment, you got the nice little computadora there, podcast recording stuff, it's nice that stuff is not unattainable. And it didn't I thought for a second as you were kind of explaining things that like it could be, there's tiers of stuff. So you could get something that's like $800. You could get something that's $200. You're going to see a lot of difference in quality. And when you threw out some of those numbers initially, I was like, oh shit, this is not going to be a plausible thing. But it really has. I mean, it's nice to know that, in terms of recording, like we can do this. I can come over, grab some stuff and be like, hey, we're going to throw something down.
Absolutely. And the industry has changed so much in the last 10 to 15 years as far as being attainable, because now we're in a world where the technology of computers is such. It's been 15 to 20 years. The technology of recording devices, everything is much more portable. Everything's much more affordable, and everything is much more attainable to the people who are at home. And that really, really has accelerated the industry into a place where we have this whole living and thriving podcast area. So, I mean, it's pretty awesome to not only watch, but to also kind of be a part of in that journey. And I know that when you were thinking about doing this, I think you gave me a call that very same night. You were talking about making a podcast, and you're like, what do I need? I went, well, about, a couple $100 and a lot of creativity, and then you can get going on stuff. And it really has been that. And, I mean, this podcast... Journey, the Fantasy Football Journeyman, got it right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It really has been, from the inception, a collaboration of many people donating many different things. Our brother is donating the use of the camera right now that we're filming this on.
Shout out, Jeremy.
Prior to the most recent episodes, we've been using a soundboard from the band that Jeremy and I and our father's in.
Which is the name of it is?
Are you asking me or telling me?
I'm asking you to promote your band.
Oh, well, then we have to get promotions going. That's Devon Deluxe, a local band in the Chicagoland area.
I put the links, sorry to interject, but I did put the links in the last couple videos.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
Hopefully you get a couple more fans there.
So, I mean, we were able to expand that technology there, and we're also learning through it. I mean, I've never done podcasting before, so it's a new adventure for me. I think we've been able to bring a lot to the table, and I mean, it's been great to watch you kind of host and watch the evolution of that as it's continued on, and incorporate the creative ideas, and especially with friends who've never really had that as an option before to do.
I am pleasantly surprised that there's been a lot of people that we haven't gotten on yet, but I know just like one off the top of my head, Vincent Sanoop, like I've talked with them about it, and they're like, yeah, definitely wanting to get on. And this is the nice thing that kind of, I guess, inspired us to record here today is like fantasy football will be coming to an end at a certain point. So we do need to obviously talk about different things. I do want to kind of flip it over to you in terms of if you could go into any type of podcast, like what kind of interest, like where would you go with it? What would be something that you would feel like you could be somewhat expert on it or have an opinion on it to really go deep into it? Like what would be your...
I think we both can agree that I've for a long time had that talent to be able to kind of jump into any conversation. I have just a little bit of knowledge on everything. So, I mean, usually I can kind of hold my own in a conversation and contribute, I think, in a meaningful way. Sometimes not always the case, but I do feel like I have that ability to talk about pretty much anything. So, I mean, as far as a specific interest, there's different podcasts about different things. I really enjoy all of them. What I've always found very fascinating is the organic nature in which conversations happen between friends. And it often seems like it's an interesting thing between the friends. We keep the conversation going. However, I don't always know how that would play out to the rest of the world. And often I found the podcasts that I tend to listen to are ones of friends just talking about stuff.
Right. What was that, like the Rooster Teeth?
A long time I listened to the Rooster Teeth Productions podcast. There are other subsequent one off topic. I've listened to podcasts specific to the recording industry. I've listened to podcasts specific to Star Trek. Another board game that I play called Star Wars Armada. I mean, there's a lot of information out there, a lot of different ways that people do things, and a lot of ways to have different conversations and be able to just incorporate those and share them with the world. And it's kind of that whole, it's like really an expounding factor on the thought process behind Seinfeld. We got a lot of shows about nothing these days, and it's great because there's a lot of great nothing to talk about and a lot of great nothing to hear about and a lot of great nothing to share. So, I mean, I've really liked the way that podcasts have expanded in the last few years. You can't really throw a stone without finding them. And it's interesting to see how that will continue to evolve.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely like you can see that the market is extremely saturated with podcasts. And there was a little bit of skepticism when we started this. I gotta throw this out there because it was
Let's talk about skepticism. First idea was, I want to do a live stream. I went, what?
So there was a lot of stuff that was kicked around here, but I would honestly put the stamp on it as this is not doable without you. So I would look at it as like
I wouldn't say that. I would never, ever say that. And I think that everything is doable. It's just a matter of the level of ease in which it's attainable. And, I mean, frankly, is that if you are motivated enough to make it happen, you're going to make it happen. Thankfully, I have found myself in a position to be able to offer some knowledge, some equipment, and some skill to get things off the ground. And like I said, it's been a very proud moment, a very proud thing to see, a very proud thing to be a part of. And, I mean, here's another statistic. First time I've ever been on camera, because that's not where I choose to be.
That's right.
I really don't like it. I like being in the background. I mean, I will contribute a little bit on the microphone there. And that's kind of, I don't want to say my comfort zone, but I like to enable other people to be able to do things. Yeah. And that's where I have the most enjoyment and excitement from it, is being able to set that up and make it happen.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I just kind of realized that you were not in like anything, like wasn't even like a picture. Cause
Episode 1, baby.
You've done some good, editing and stuff like that throughout the episodes that kind of show like pictures of me, Ryan, and Bobby just being a bunch of jackasses and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, Aaron hasn't been in it, so you get to see a face to go with the voice there. But this is honestly this kind of setting here, like I'll just kind of move away from the initiation of the podcast and all that stuff, because again, it was a group effort. It's not something that you. It's
always a group effort.
I had the idea, but we all contributed and stuff like that. But this definitely, like this kind of setting here, where like we're at a table, you could easily do a whole host of different things with this kind of setup here where, as you were kind of talking about, like you're well versed in a lot of different functions. We could do a whole bunch of things with like the camera like pointing down, showing something here, whether we do like an Armada episode one time. I know the logistics would be a little tough.
There's ways to do it, my friend.
But maybe we need like the attachable mics and stuff like that, a little bit easier. But that would be a very cool thing to like foray into.
Well, and I mean that's kind of the cool thing I think you just touched on there is like everything that you try to accomplish in life. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and many will tell you that there's a right way and a wrong way, but there's just different ways of doing it. I mean, there's different ways of achieving it, and that's kind of a cool thing about doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, when I woke up this morning, I didn't think we'd be recording anything today. I probably would have showered at least. Maybe done a couple things differently, chose a different shirt. But the point being is that like there's always these different ways of doing things. There's different ways to put a camera in there. There's different ways to light it.
Mm-hmm.
We actually made a choice here that the chandelier is providing a lot of light, which was a great thought until I realized the bill of my hat might be putting a little down shadow on my face.
Oh, that's fine. You can
But
see it.
We can see what we need to see. But the idea is like there's a ton of different ways to do things. One thing that we had talked about doing for the fantasy football Journeymen podcast was doing the field goal kick thing in a field, and we're still working out some logistics on how to do that, and how to do that in a nice way to demonstrate people.
Oh, it'll be
trying
coming.
to put words to practice.
It'll be coming up. I mean, again, my scheduling definitely allows for it, but this is the other part is that definitely I need witnesses there. So Bobby and Ryan need to be in attendance to show.
Well, that's what the film is for, unless they think I'm going to cut it.
Well, no, this is the thing is that, we need to make sure that it's recorded and then it goes down in history so that I can just keep pointing back to it and saying.
So what if I recorded it, but I cut like Rudy into the middle of it?
Just the whole movie.
I mean, you'd never be able to show it, but
No.
it's just in the middle of it's like, Rudy.
I mean, dude, again, the field goal idea that I can kick a 45-yarder, I'm still definitely 100%. I think I can do it. We're going to put it to the test. I
will
don't know.
always support you, especially if you're going to Charlie Brown the shit out of this thing. I mean, will it happen? I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see someday.
The recording of it definitely will happen. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, I guarantee you. I want to be there to see it.
Yeah, so that's
We'll have
that's
medics
another,
on standby.
That's
They're
gonna
not
be-
going to be very good.
Yeah,
But we're going to have medics on standby.
That's the other thing, though, is like the scheduling of it to make sure that people are there who want to see it. And I mean, again, it's not going to be a huge deal. It's going to be like 15 minutes. Go out there, hit it, go home, crack a beer.
So I want to talk about something else that
Sure.
I find really interesting with this pursuit of the podcast, and that is that we're brothers. There is a significant age gap. You want a kiss?
No.
Okay. That's the closest that we've gotten in the last 30 years. But there's a significant age gap. We got a 6-year difference, and because of that, you and I never really were in the same schools.
Never.
Ever growing up. As he hit kindergarten, I was on to middle school. As he hit middle school, I was in another year of college.
Mm-hmm.
When he turned to high school, I didn't know who he was. But like this is an interesting thing because years after, as we've gotten older, certainly the relationship has changed. But I think this is the most that you and I have ever collaborated on anything, other than that one time trying to get all the dead squirrels out of your balcony.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I just had a bunch of squirrels in the posts of my balcony.
I mean, in all seriousness, that's a joke. I mean, we've definitely done stuff before, but as far as a long-term collaboration of working together to create something, this is the first time we've ever done it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, this is shared interest, which I think, as you kind of touched on, it is something that has definitely, as you get older, there are definitely things that you kind of gravitate towards that are, again, like we've always kind of had a shared interest of Star Wars and things like that, but until really like we started playing Armada, I really like, it was definitely that age gap and the kind of also the level of, devotion and stuff that I'm just literally looking around your place. I mean, you got Star Wars memorabilia all over, you're a huge fan of the franchise, and that also was kind of the thing that like I wasn't super into it. I liked the movies, didn't really read any of the books or anything like that. I know you got a full wall over there.
oh, I read them all. Well, I mean, most of them.
But that's another thing, though, is just kind of like the disparity and kind of knowledge and, interest in it. When, we started playing Armada sitting down.
Yeah, you can see it now.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Change mine for the. There you go. But yeah, like once you start getting older, I just kind of noticed that it happens a lot more.
I mean, and it's interesting too because I think that as we've done this, the podcast, you brought up a lot of names of people you want to bring on. I'm like, who? Because we never really ran in those same circles. And so it's an interesting dynamic. I've really started to meet a lot of your friends. And that's a different dynamic that I think both you and I have had with our other brother, Jeremy, because Jeremy's in the middle. And by definition, I know a lot of the same people that he knew because he's 2 years younger than me.
Right.
And you knew a lot of the same people that he knew because he's 4 years older than you.
Yeah, it's school years, but
right.
There's like a gap of like a couple months where he's 3 years old.
Yeah, but I mean the same thing. Just the point being is that it's an interesting bridging thing. So like Jeremy and you know a lot of people that are mutual. Jeremy and I know a lot of people mutually, but you and I know almost nobody.
No,
mutually.
I mean really, it's just your friends that have been around in that
and I
group,
mean,
and
on
then
top of it, my friends are all nobody from high school. I think yours are a lot rooted in there.
Yeah, mine are definitely a lot of high school, but then
that's
also,
not to say I don't have friends from high school or we're not still friends. It's just saying that close-knit circle has really been people a little bit more in my orbit over the last 20-something years.
Well, I don't think it's any secret that you and even Jeremy at times were not the biggest fans of my friends, just because as that age gap happened, we were in high school or younger.
I'm not going to name names, but there were some interesting decisions being made, which may have ended up in some Dukes of Hazzard type of things.
Yeah,
you know who you are.
Yeah, it's just
but I mean, it never was a judgment thing. It was just a matter of like, there is no basis of information. I never heard of any of those people in school. At most, I might have known somebody's older brother or older sister who would have also had as significant of an age gap.
That's a lot of times kind of what I knew of you kind of as well as like the same thing is like, oh, my friend's brother knows or same age, same year in school as Aaron, kind of knew each other or whatever.
And I mean, to add on to it, all of my friends right now are at least 3 years older than I am, which is an interesting world too.
Right. And again,
I shouldn't say all of my friends, but the large sum of the very close-knit friends are 3 years older than I am, which is an interesting thing. I've got a couple of friends who are a couple of years younger than I am. And it's just a weird spread of the age gap. But it's the point being is that I think that this experience has been something that's brought us together in a way that we hadn't been before. Because aside from playing online, playing video games, and that shared interest, I don't think we've ever really had a constant phone call. Hey, call me about this. Hey, we need to talk about this. Hey, I got a question for you. Type of thing going on other than normal family events.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it did happen, but you're absolutely right.
I might be overselling it.
It's been more of,
I might be overselling it.
I think there's, again, a growing up factor of just like, hey, now that, having a steady job, having your own place and stuff like that, we definitely have bonded a couple times over stuff like as stupid as like, shit, dude, I need to clean my apartment, like something I never, and then you were like, oh yeah, you should be doing it like once every couple weeks.
Oh, I definitely give you advice that I do not live up to.
But I do know that
every Sunday, clean your apartment. You'll love me forever for it. And I mean, for the most part, it seems like you do. That does not happen here.
I think you get a little bit of a pass. It's kind of coming up on Christmas time. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Everybody's got stuff going on.
But I'm just saying my apartment gets messy.
We're not here to talk about my house.
I'm just saying my apartment gets messy at Christmas because I get, wrapping papers all around, and all this stuff. It's just a kind of a pass of like, hey, it doesn't need to be pristine here.
Yeah.
But as we kind of shift over, that was super weird. You see that the time was blinking for a little bit?
Yes, and you see how it's now making the adjustments?
Yeah.
Part of it, I think, is it keeps on moving, or we keep on moving back and forward, so it's trying to focus both of us in there. But, we're taking a little bit of time to learn tonight, too, because of the autofocus on this camera was not something we were really apparent on before. Now we're noticing it. But what was I talking about? Something.
Age gap,
Christmas, a lot of things. Yeah, I just think that it's been nice because this has been a thing that's brought us together. I think I've been to your house maybe 3 times before that.
Well, one
of them was to kill squirrels.
Yeah, there is a point of this, I'm shaking my leg this way. keeps moving them under.
Oh,
But
we'll stop that.
Yeah, there is a point of that, and I think it's kind of like any family situation of just like there are times where you guys grow closer, and this is again, it's just more of like a shared interest and stuff. I know you've always been big fans of podcasts, listening to them, but this is nice because again, I'm definitely looking to kind of like branch out of podcasts. I mean, I know this was just kind of like a throw it together, the Aaron and Jason show.
Where do you branch out of podcasting to?
No. I meant like branching out
The degrees of the podcast.
From the Fantasy Football Journeymen podcast is kind of like the main kind of starting off point. But I do know, and I can just kind of like, tease it a little bit here, is that I know Adam and I, my buddy, we are going to be starting some sort of podcast. We don't know the exact nature of it. I've talked with Ryan about trying to do maybe like a specifically movie only, because that's really where some of his passions lie. But like even so, like I just want to kind of, realistically, I just kind of want to record and see what happens, because like even through 12, 13 episodes or whatever that we've done now,
a lot of Genesis.
there is comedy gold that we are picking up. There's also some stuff that we don't pick up, which I'm cracking up, but like,
could you imagine an Unchained podcast?
what does that mean?
No rules.
Yeah, that's
Never see the light of day.
yeah, that would be locked up in the vault. But
You could do what is that thing? Not OnlyFans. What's the other one? Patreon. You could do a Patreon. A special edition.
I don't think that it hasn't been knocking around in my head, but I think we need to get the base
Wait,
viewers.
you're gonna start
up.
an OnlyFans? Was it feet specialty?
No.
Beardless 15 OnlyFans.
No, this is feet we should get for that is
No,
Mike.
no. Although he's going to be in town in a couple weeks. So
That is awesome.
might
Yeah.
be able to get that going. I don't know. So I guess one other thing that'd be worth mentioning is kind of like where we are currently in the state of the podcast technology-wise. So I can kind of do a quick rundown of that. Lately, we have been using a Zoom PodTrack P4 recorder, which is right here, to capture the audio directly to a MacBook Pro, which is brand spanking new.
Oh yeah.
It's being recorded in GarageBand. Previously, we were using Pro Tools and a Allen & Heath SQ4 soundboard, which is part of the band's equipment.
Very nice.
This is a little bit more portable, so there's some good choices in making that change. The other thing is that the software being used to record it right now is all on your computer, whereas before Pro Tools and Final Cut Pro are on my computer. We're using iMovie to edit. The camera we're using is an EOS Rebel T7i for video recording. And if you've noticed some camera changes, because you're going to a Sony HD, there's Handycam, I think 200 or 240 for some auxiliary B-roll and safety capture for the video. So bringing all these things together, we've got a couple mics. They're various versions of Shure SM58s. Right now I'm on a AKG, what is this, the P220 microphone, a condenser. I always like to go on the condensers because I think they've got a little bit different of a sound.
It looks awesome. So either way, it looks fucking cool.
I do feel like I got a late night talk show host thing going. I need a little smaller of a stand so it's down here and it's like that extra microphone. But all these things kind of come together to put forth the product that we have, and I think it's a pretty good product going out there. And I think there's, as always, things that we're going to be doing in the future that are going to be different than what we've done in the past, and constantly being tweaked and improved, and bringing on the next and better and best creation of whatever we're making.
Yeah, no, I think there's a couple things to mention here. Aside from obviously the MacBook, which is obviously it's a little bit of a expense, but at the same time, it's extremely worth it to allow just again more mobility and more autonomy in recording. Because previously we were definitely limited to schedules. Anybody who listens to this knows that I've talked about scheduling and certain things like that a little bit here, but I do think though that this is like a doable thing. I mean, it's not putting in, if this was a real financial burden and it would have been like, hey, this is going to cost, let's say, $5,000 to get all of the equipment and all that stuff. I think nobody's doing that. They just don't have the capital to do that. But again, it's relatively cheap. Again, I said aside from the MacBook, but even with that expense again. It's realistically been a nice kind of, again, I think steady climb. I think steady incline in terms of like when we started. Obviously, the first episode has not been released yet for reasons of just simply we want to put out a product.
You're talking about the first episode on this equipment.
Yeah, I'm just saying the first episode that we ever recorded was just riddled with technical errors, and
there's a reason why you have pilots, my friends.
Right, but I mean, we have said it though. We are going to release that at some point
in some form.
Just going to kind of clean it up, because then what happens is that we're referencing things from the first one. The 45-yard field goal was in the first one, but
was it really?
Yeah, I got to keep bringing that up.
Well, it's in the second one too, and the third.
It is because I kept
and the fourth
reminding people,
and the fifth one, and the sixth one.
Okay, Dwight.
And the seventh.
Hold on, let me. Is it okay? So
and the eighth.
So yeah, no, it's been a nice journey. Put that in there, tied to the podcast, but it's been an awesome time. I think the only place for this to go is up, because again, I think there's just a lot of different branches that we can kind of feel out. Again, I think we, I know that you're not a big fan of being in front of the camera here, but like
it's
I said,
not a matter of being the fan. I just feel like I feel like it's a better opportunity to watch other people bring stuff forward.
Well, I think in just general, I think the where my vision goes, and I'm going to use the term vision just because why not, is you get more people on the podcast, you just get different thought processes, and you get just different content from people of just like things that people I know will find interesting. There's never going to be a person that we put on the show that's going to be like, oh, well, they don't have anything interesting to bring. We all have interesting people in our lives. I'm trying to get as many people on just so that we can keep...
I'd like to think the opposite. I'd like to think that you get to the point where creativity is brought such that you finally have somebody who's got nothing left to offer.
I mean, I know for me...
That's the height of popularity. That's the height of success.
I mean, I know for me personally, I could talk just for hours. You're not, maybe not like the information or it may not be entertaining, but you put a microphone in front of my face, I'll keep talking your ear off,
Well, and I think with that, Governor, we're getting close to bringing this to an end and a close because of some of the things that we're working within frameworks and trying to, I guess, not advance not stifle creativity, but to advance creativity, as we do try to keep it down to smaller segments as we are filming and recording the podcast. So we are getting a little close here, but I do want to say that it has been an absolute pleasure working on this project with you. And Governor, it has been a fun time. So I say cheers to you and having the idea and making it happen. And it's been a true pleasure being a part of it.
I will echo your sentiments and just say that, again, hopefully this is maybe again, not the Aaron and Jason show per se, but I'm sure we're going to, do a couple more of these in the future. It's going to be a good time, though. Again, I can't wait for the future with this stuff because, again, now it's really starting to pick up speed, I think.
You know what the best measure of this is going to be?
What?
Is when it, starts whittling its way into the next level of your life when you're like, I'm going to buy a house. I need a studio area. Needs to have a basement so it can have the production studios in it.
Gaming room / studio?
Oh, we'd be putting up the wall. We'd be making a control room.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice.
We do got to start getting some better background.
Put a little cot in there.
Background decor, though.
Oh, paint the wall green.
Green screen.
Green screen wall, man. They make the paint. We can do it. So anyway, like I said, it just has been a pleasure, and I am looking forward to working on it more and more. And also, I'm really excited to see the next phase where I take a little bit farther of a step back and watch you doing the editing and the audio creation on your own.
Yeah, we'll do a last plug here real quick of Devon Deluxe. Again, you guys are going to be coming out with some...
Coming to a summer venue near you.
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of stuff coming up in the summer. So again, we'll put the links and stuff like that in the description so everybody can check it out. But, again, dude, it's been a great, quick 25, 30 minutes. I love it. And we'll... cheers it out one more time.
Let's end with a chug. Here we go.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, that was a mistake.